involved in an early morning chase this morning. An opening date for a new Mexican restaurant has been set, and a crash sent 2 people to the hospital this afternoon. I'm James Bellini, and this is Live. We'll get to the news in a minute, but first, the time is here to stock up and save on John Deere filters and packaged oil at the South Plains Implement Semi-Annual Sale. Now through August 31st, receive 12% off John Deere oil and filters. Some restrictions do apply. And visit their parts department for details. Located at US 67 North at Tractor Trail in San Angelo, or with 18 additional locations, there's a South Plains Implement near you. South Plains Implement, where farm meets family. Starting off the news, San Angelo police were involved in an early morning chase this morning around 3 o'clock, and the suspect is still at large. According to information released by the SAPD, an officer attempted a traffic stop in the Southland area, and the suspect vehicle initially complied but quickly fled the scene. The chase was terminated though due to community safety, and the vehicle was discovered near the Chefalura and Royal Oaks intersection, crashed into a tree. The suspect did end up fleeing on foot and has yet to be located. Moore's Cantina and Mexican Grill has an opening date, and it's actually this week. On Saturday, August 16th, Moore's officially opens their doors. The new Mexican Grill is located behind Outback Steakhouse in the Sherwood Oaks Shopping Center, where the Craven Crab used to be. Moore's has a pretty diverse menu that includes Mexican food like tacos and nachos, but they'll also serve steak and seafood. Also, they are still looking for waitstaff, cooks, dishwashers, and bartenders. Have you downloaded the all-new Sandra Live mobile app yet? It's free and it's the best app in the business. Download it off the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store to stay up to date with news in San Angelo. A 2-vehicle crash ended up sending 2 people to the hospital. Today around 2:40, a major crash was called at the intersection of Avenue L and South Chadburn, where 2 SUVs crashed into one another. A white GMC Yukon was traveling eastbound on Avenue L, and a blue GMC Terrain was moving south on South Chadburn. Both drivers claim to have the green light, so police are having to rely on eyewitnesses and video security footage to determine who was at fault. But 2 people, 1 from each vehicle, ended up going to the hospital, and luckily, major injury was avoided. Into weather, the heat will not give us a break. Right now, it's 102 outside with a low tonight near 76. Tomorrow and Thursday, the high reaches 103 and then drops to the mid-70s, right around 75 on both nights. Friday, it's going to be even hotter at 104, and then Friday night, the low drops down to the mid-70s. And this weekend looks just as miserable as well, with highs on Saturday and Sunday at 105, and lows again in the mid-70s. Starting the beginning of next week, on Monday, the high will be 106. So remember, have plenty of water on hand and stay hydrated, and sunscreen is a must if you're going to be out in the sun. Also, bring your pets inside and make sure they have plenty of water, and if possible, a kiddie pool to cool off in outside. When we come back, we'll have sports, and then Joe Hyde has a Zoom interview with the president of the Texas Farm Bureau. But first, a word from the Bass Bunch.
It's our giant tag sale.
Right now, during our giant tag hail sale, you can get a brand new 2024 Ford Bronco Sport for just $25,999.
Don't miss our giant tag sale, only at Jim Bass Cars and Trucks, Houston, Hart, and Arden Road, or 24/7 at bassbunch.com.
Welcome back, everybody, for today's edition of Cover One. I'm your host, James Bellini, with my co-host, Ryan Chadwick.
How's it going, guys? Here talking about the Sonora Broncos today, and James, you went out there yesterday for their practice, or yeah, it was yesterday.
It was yesterday.
Like, how do the Broncos look post Jaime Butron and Edgar DeLuna?
They look fired up, man. They lost some size up front. You know, replacing Jaime and Edgar is going to be tough. You don't just plug someone in for a 2,600-yard rusher like Edgar was. He had the size, he had the speed. Wasn't the fastest guy, but I mean, you saw some of those highlights. He would not go down on the first hit. Butron tore his ACL actually around this time last year, and Castillo has stepped up into the quarterback role. Last year, I think he kind of knew, one just kind of got thrown into it. It's kind of a
like, hey, you're the quarterback now. Sorry.
Yeah, like, hey, you're the guy now, so everything's going to fall on you. So he got thrown into it last year, but this year he's really embraced it. He's really taken that next step, and he's going to be that guy for him. And they have a lot of speed out there. They have a lot of fast guys. I mean, their practice was high-flying, quick, fast guys who can one cut and gone type, hit the ground running type of thing. Their offensive line, they've got 2 big tight ends. They've got Case and Boggsnow and Jones out there to help out that offensive line. I still think that offensive line is going to be harder to replace. I know it's crazy to hear, but I think they lost 3 or 4 guys up front, so that's going to be difficult to replace. But they have a bunch of mean, nasty guys up there this year, and their team speed is insane. That's what Coach Weston is really excited about, is just how fast the Broncos are this year.
Well, we saw them in track last year, and they always showed up and they always did well. They were always competing with schools even bigger than them, guys like Wall and Lakeview and whatnot. So like I could definitely see that, especially with everyone who got a year older. But specifically in that district, I still believe that it's their district to lose. I don't think that's going to happen this year because Coach Weston always has those boys ready to go. And, I mean, Sonora's been making noise for a couple years now, and I do see that trend continuing.
Yeah, as far as the district goes, I think Ozona's going to be pretty good, but they did graduate their entire offensive line, so they have 5 new guys up front. You still have Hudson Fowler back there. You still have Villarreal as a running back. Those guys are going to be tough. Reagan County is going to be tough. They have all the size and ability in the world. Cason Brown, of course, is, a great basketball player, but he's also a very good quarterback for them. And they have a couple fast guys out there. Cristobal, they returned their entire offensive line.
They're the dark horse for me, James, like straight up. Like I think people might be sleeping on Cristobal a little bit this year.
I think so too. Last year they were really young, but their offensive line came back. Their running back came back. Their quarterback, Stanton McLaughlin, is really stepped up. Coach Otho was real happy with him, and their defense is going to be pretty good. I do think they lost their defensive coordinator, though. So this new guy coming in, hey, you got Ethan Bush back there on the back end. You got Manny Rojas in the middle for linebacker. You have some building blocks there, and I think they can surprise some people this year. And then Forsan is always good. Colorado season came into that. They're big country. We don't know a whole hell of a lot about them, but it is a tough district. And just with the changes that happened this past year, everybody graduated. You're right. It is Sonora's to lose. They are. I love them down there. I mean, it's no secret. I wore my Sonora shirt that Weston gave me underneath my Sandra Live shirt at their playoff games last year because I'm just a
big supporter.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. I'm not gonna pull the UI. Oh, you're not allowed to cheer. Like, dude, I'm gonna cheer for the Contra Valley teams, and I'm gonna cheer for good football plays when I see them. I'm sorry if that upsets y'all in the UIL, but I'm a fan of football, and I'm gonna enjoy a game. I'm not gonna go there and just be this media guy on the sideline.
Hey, James, you're not going to hear any arguments from me because no matter who the Bobcats are playing, I'm always going to support the Bobcats. So, but at practice yesterday, you did get a chance to track down head coach Blake Weston, did you not?
I didn't have to track him down much. I mean, he was just there, and we talked pretty much the entire second half of practice. But I did get an interview with him, so we're going to run that real quick, and here we go. Ooh, my bad. All right, James Bellini here with Coach Blake Weston, Sonora Broncos head coach. Coach Weston, how are we doing today?
Awesome, man. Doing good.
All right, man. Last year, lost against Holly in the third round again. This year, though, fresh slate.
Right.
You got new quarterback back there. You got a bunch of speed out there.
Very much so.
What are you most excited about?
Man, like you said, the speed and athletes. It's fourth year in the system, so the offense is just kind of second nature to us right now. It's we're getting to add a whole lot of sets and stuff that probably people haven't seen in the past, but, man, we are lightning fast on the edges. So super excited for our team speed.
And what about defensively? You have a lot to be excited about on defense.
Very
too.
much
You got
so.
Dylan Ford out there.
Yeah, we bring back 4 of the 5 of our secondary kids. That's huge, getting people lined up and stuff. We're going to a different defense this year, which is it'll be a little bit different. We're going to a different front, and man, I'll tell you what, that team speed, the defense we're going to, our team speed has looked really, really good the first 6 days now. So
I know you didn't get into specifics about what your defense
Right,
is going to
sure.
look like.
Yeah.
But of course, you only get to surprise them once.
yeah, they'll find out. Yeah. I will be in an odd front. I mean, everybody's going to get filmed, so we're going to be in an odd front instead of an even front this year. We scrimmaged Friday. We scrimmaged Kahoma at Old Bobcat Stadium. So everybody's going to get to know what we're in. So it's not like a surprise. But we are going to an odd front, which allows us to get athletes on the field and a lot more team speed out there. Man, we got a lot of people flying to the football, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
And Kahoma Friday, what do you want to see from your team? What do you expect to see from your team?
Just getting out and playing against somebody else. Coach Jocelyn is he's a good friend of mine. Kahoma's a really good football team. Going to be well coached up. It's good for us to get to see that early because, man, they're going to be a super solid football team. They're bringing back their quarterback who's been a 3-year starter. Their tailback, the Vineyard kid's awesome. Their O-line's up front. I mean, they're a good football team. So it's going to be a great test for us to kind of see where we're at early in the season.
Yeah, you got them last year here
Yeah,
at Sonora.
yeah.
I don't know, I upset those fans with my article. But, Anyway, Coach, I appreciate you talking to me, man.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, man.
I'm going to be back down here.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah, whenever you want, man. Come on down.
Back to you guys. All right, sorry about that little jump cut there before the interview. But Weston is, of course, as fired up as they'll come. Big shout out to his daughter for holding the camera. I forgot the tripod because I'm me. So appreciate it.
With that being said, you know how busy we've been the last 2 weeks with football starting all that. But hey, well into the second week of training camp now. We got another week of practice after this before the first official team on team scrimmages start happening. And James, we are almost there, man. Week 1 is quickly approaching. We have 16 days?
It's getting close. Sonora, they're actually going to be at Old Bobcat on Friday. They're going to be scrimmaging Kahoma, and Kahoma, I kind of upset Kahoma fans last year with my article, but I don't care. But yeah, they're scrimmaging Kahoma. They're a very good program, and it's going to really show Sonora where they stand, I think. And Weston excited. The offensive line's exciting. I'm happy they got some big, nasty, mean guys up front. Owen Jones, I've been seeing him all over Twitter. I don't know if you see our Twitter handles on the bottom. So if you're watching this, you want to give us a follow, we'll do our best to, put you out there and get your names out there. But I've been seeing all the Owen Jones stuff. He's been doing a lot this summer, working to get better. And Castillo is really coming into his role as quarterback. And Dylan, we ain't even talked about Dylan Ford. He's still there, and he is a tremendous player. He all-state defensive back, right? Mm-hmm. Right, Chadwick? All-state defensive back.
He's really good. Let's just put it that way. And he's going to be one of the main fixtures on that offense. You can't replace Edgar DeLuna, but you can slide in a Dylan Ford there, and he's going to be carrying the rock a lot this year. And I definitely think that the Broncos are going to get a lot of production out of him.
Yeah, last year in Anson, he had in Sweetwater, they were playing Anson that first round. He had a pick that really kept him in because Edgar had gotten kind of beat up against Forsan, and he had kind of a high ankle sprain, I think, and so they were trying to be easy with him. And Dylan Ford picked it off and really kept Sonora in the game, and then the rest is history. Butron was Butron, and Edgar was Edgar, and it was I was excited and fired up.
Yeah.
But anyway, Ryan, anything else you want to add before we call it?
Nah, man, I'm good. With that being said, I will be in Lubbock the rest of the week trying to get some coverage on some of the South Plains schools, including the Friendship Tigers, trying to get a little bit of a preview for that District 2-6A for the Bobcats headed into the 2024 season. So just be on the lookout for all that.
All right. And, of course, James Bellini, our Twitter handles have been up the entire Cover 1, so give us a follow, and we will do our best to put you out there even more so than you already are.
And we do a really good job, at retweeting anything we see from the guys around the Concho Valley, guys, the football players at ASU, Central Bobcats, Wall Hawks, Sonora Broncos. It doesn't matter who it is. If you're from the area, we will do our best to give you a shout out.
All right. Yep. This has been James Bellini, and for Ryan Chadwick, this has been Cover 1. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
It's hard to believe how reckless some people can be and how hard they fight against real victims. You need a partner who consistently beats the giants and who will never, ever flinch.
Well, welcome back to the show. I'm Joe Hyde, publisher of San Angelo Live, and today we are joined via Zoom from live from Austin, Texas. Russell Boening, who is he's the current president of the Texas Farm Bureau. And if you've been a long-time watcher of this show, you might recall last month we had the Texas Agriculture Commissioner Sid Miller on, and he said he couldn't believe that the Texas Farm Bureau was opposed to legislation that would prevent the Chinese communist governments from buying land. And I think he mentioned land around Laughlin Air Force Base, which is in our territory down there by Del Rio. But before we get to introducing you, Mr. Boening, let's cut to that piece of the interview we had last week with Sid Miller.
They've been meeting, I think yesterday I saw some tweets. I wasn't up there in Austin, but they were talking about how they had a meeting, they had a committee meeting on the Chinese buying land.
Oh, I've been working on this for 5 years. The stupidest thing we do is let our enemies buy our farmland. Next to military installations,
Right.
Put up wind farms, access to our food supply, our grid, and to our top military secrets. I was shocked. The hearing yesterday, the Farm Bureau got up and testified in favor of letting the Chinese to continue buying farmland.
And why that's important for down here is
Unreal.
People may not be familiar with it, but there's a Laughlin Air Force Base down by Del Rio, Texas. Yeah. And the Chinese have bought some land near there, and they're putting up wind farms.
Not some land, 130,000 acres.
By Laughlin Air Force Base.
Yes.
And the history of Laughlin, I flew there. I was in the Air Force. I flew there. It used to be a U-2 spy plane base back in the 60s. And, I mean, that was the most secret program we had in the Air Force.
Absolutely.
And it was stationed at Del Rio. Now, today it's flying training wing, so it's just a bunch of trainers. But who knows? I mean, that used to be a remote place where the Air Force could do secret stuff.
95% of the people in Republican primary, there was a ballot question. Should we stop, should we stop selling farmland to our enemies? And it was a 95%, the highest vote on the election. Yeah, right. 95%. I couldn't believe the Farm Bureau came out and said, well, it's a property. You should be able to sell your land to whoever you want. At some point, patriotism has to trump property rights.
So do you think that the Farm Bureau is doing it because their constituency, they think, would make more money if you had a more open market for farmland?
I think their constituency would agree with me. We don't need to be selling a farmland to China.
So
without a doubt.
So have you called the Farm Bureau?
I sent them a note this morning, but I haven't heard back from them. They're good. They're good guys for the most part. I like them. It's a good organization.
Sounds like
I just disagree with them on this item.
Sounds like maybe the staffers took over.
I don't know.
But anyway, Farm Bureau comes out in a hearing and says we want to be able to sell our land to the Chinese.
Yeah.
Man.
Now, I kind of was taken aback by it a little bit that the Texas Farm Bureau, which represents rural Texas values, would be against the Chinese or any kind of foreign hostile government buying land or farmland in Texas. So I decided to bring the president of the Farm Bureau on, who has been testifying in Austin today about this very legislation. You may not realize this, but we're gearing up for the next legislative session, which starts in January. So they have lots of hearings about pending legislation that they may consider in the next session. Mr. Boening, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, Joe. I hear you loud and clear.
All right. So what say you about this Sid Miller thing? Was that just a big misunderstanding, or is there something else going on?
Yeah, I guess that's a good way to construe it. A misunderstanding. Some things were printed in a statewide publication and kind of misrepresented our position. We were not against the legislature looking into banning foreign ownership, especially, I mean, we're talking about our adversaries, whether it be China or some of the other ones. So yeah, there was some either misunderstanding or misrepresentation there. Yes, sir.
So what is I mean, I guess you probably didn't even have a position on the sale of lands to foreign I guess, adversaries last session. I wouldn't think so. It's kind of popped up now with this conservative resurgence of the Republican Party. For example, you have these 22 incoming state reps and/or state reps that will probably get elected in November, who are going to be in this next legislative session, signing this contract with Texas. And I think that's where a lot of this is coming from. So what is the policy, or what is your position as the Texas Farm Bureau on this particular issue of selling Texas land to foreign adversaries?
Well, Joe, and you're right. We didn't have a specific policy banning the sale of land to our foreign adversaries, so to speak. But we also did not have policy that would prevent the legislature from looking into doing exactly that. So it was kind of a timing issue. People that are familiar with our policy process, it's set in the fall, late summer and fall, which we are working on right now. And so as we go forward, and then it culminates the first week of December at our annual meeting. So we, kind of a timing issue. And believe me, we have counties, and our grassroots folks are looking at it right now. And I think there's a distinct possibility that our policy will be tweaked and be a little different as we go forward. But again, it was more of a timing issue, and it's national security. We understand, and we're totally in favor of having legislation that pertains to our national security, whether it's ag land, whether it's other type of land that's close to infrastructure that's related to national security.
Now, I watched some of the testimony today via the video feed they had here in San Angelo, and one of the interesting things that came out of it is a lot of times people don't even know who's buying their land. You have a corporation owned by a corporation, owned by a corporation, owned by an LLC, owned by another partnership. It's all stacked in there and kind of hidden, so it makes it almost impossible for you to trace the chain of custody of these land deals. Did you get any? Is your policy going to come up with a way to, I guess, disseminate which is a good land deal, what would be a land deal going to an adversary?
Yeah, that was discussed during the testimony today by a couple of different people, and it's very accurate. But I think as we move forward with the resources we have now, nationally, statewide, we ought to be able to get our arms around it, at least, at least in a way that we think is working, and it's going to be I guess that part of it is going to be a little bit challenging, but again, it's going to take some research. It's going to take everybody working together and going forward in that respect.
Well, finally, I'm going to change the subject a little bit, because there's another issue that I think impacts particularly our Lubbock market. Lubbock is growing like gangbusters to the south. A lot of the farmers are, like generational farmers are selling the land for land development and things like that. But you might have some of these little areas where someone's been a hay farmer for 50 years, and all of a sudden we're going to have a municipal ordinance saying, no, you can no longer apply pesticides, or you can no longer allow your grass to grow more than 6 inches or something like that. But there's a movement, I think there's also a movement in a policy direction that the Farm Bureau is going after called Right to Farm. Can you kind of explain where the Farm Bureau is with that initiative?
Well, we testified on that today too. We actually got some really good legislation passed in the last session, both statutory, and we got the constitutional amendment passed. Now I think it's just a matter of making the cities aware that when they do pass these ordinances, cities, counties, it's probably mostly cities, there really has to be a clear-cut either a health or safety factor that's affecting their citizens, that's affecting their folks. So they just can't pass something, haphazardly, willy-nilly, or however how you want to say it, and along those lines. So we're working on that. We think that there may have to be some more teeth put in it. Maybe it's a matter of, making the cities aware that this constitutional amendment did. There's things that are what we call common accepted agricultural practices, and those are the things that we're really looking for. Like you said, if you have a hay crop out there and the city decides that particular crop needs to be mowed at 6 inches, well, we all know that you're not going to make much of a hay crop if you only let it get 6 inches tall. So again, we're working on that, and I think the legislature is going to have to revisit it and maybe do a little tweaking there as well.
Well, Mr. Boening, I really appreciate you coming on our show, especially to clarify the foreign ownership of land policy. I mean, it threw us back too. I was like, man, the agriculture commissioner is going after the Farm Bureau. So it really means a lot for you to take your time today and come talk about that. Also, the right to farm. I mean, that's going to impact all of the markets that we're in out here in West Texas.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. So that was Russell Boening. He is the president of the Texas Farm Bureau, and it's an advocacy organization for agriculture in Texas. And like I said, we were trying to clear up a little controversy that happened here on our live platform. Anyway, back to the studio.
When it comes to unique pieces you can't find anywhere else, KOS Diamonds and Coins is your one-stop shop. With over 24 years in the diamond and coin industry, KOS Diamonds and Coins is West Texas's choice for diamonds, jewelry, coins, silver, and gold. Owner Bill Cano stands by his work and offers free consultations, including estate jewelry. Don't just trust anyone with your valuables. Come see the staff at Cano's at 1016 West Beauregard in San Angelo.
Thank you for watching the Live Daily News Show, the only locally owned news show in the Concho Valley. Go like us on Facebook, X, and other social media platforms, and download the San Angelo Live mobile app to stay up to date with news from in and around the Concho Valley. Thanks again, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.